Hello, my name is Pat Schoch. I'm an author from Wake Forest, North Carolina in the United States. I have been privileged and very honored to be asked by my publisher, Outskirts Press, to take part in the World Read Aloud Day, which takes place on February 1st. I hope you enjoy this book, and I hope that you enjoy World Read Aloud Day by reading every book you can get your hands on. My books, when I write my children's books, I like to base them on good character traits, on healthy values, things that sometimes might be a little missing in today's world. And I want to see that children learn something about the difference between what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. That's what I strive for when I write my children's books. As you listen to the story being read, I would like you to take note of any good characteristics, healthy values, like anything like that you hear about in the book. See if you can identify those values and those characteristics. And you can talk about them with your parents. That would be a great start to conversation about things and hopefully to learn how to be a good person later on in life. So thank you for listening to my story, and this is The Town of Alpaca, Chapter 1, and it is called Lost. "Where are we?" Dalai Lama asked her husband Wally. Dolly was getting worried. They were traveling to Peruville to see the new drama at the Lama Rama, but it was getting dark and they were lost. "Shouldn't we ask someone for directions?" Dolly asked Wally hopefully. Her husband hated to ask for directions. "No, we don't need that. I'll find it," he said stubbornly, and they kept on going. After a while, they came across a little town. "Welcome to the town of Alpaca," read the old, crooked, weathered sign by the dirt road. "I'm not staying in this little town," said Wally, staring down the rutted dirt road surrounded by unkept grass and tangled weeds. "Who knows what kind of place it is?" "Well, we don't have a choice anymore," said Dolly, irritated. "We have to stay here. It's getting late and we don't know where we are." Hungry and tired, Wally and Dalai Lama begrudgingly headed into town. After traveling a short distance, a small inn came into view. The dim light by the porch revealed an old, run-down building that looked like it might have been, at one time, a vibrant and friendly little place. A neon vacancies sign blinked its welcome out front. And here are Wally and Dalai Lama coming up the road to the little inn. Chapter 2, No Room at the Inn. "Excuse me," said Wally Lama. "We're headed to Peruville to see the new drama at the Lama Rama, and we are lost. We need a place to stay for the night, and we would like to book a room." Albert Alpaca, the owner of the inn, Alpaca Inn and Suites, shook his head. "I'm sorry," he said, scowling. "We don't have any rooms available." Wally and Dalai Lama were surprised and confused, but the sign out front said vacancies, they disputed. "I'm sorry," Albert said, looking them straight in the eyes without smiling. "You might want to try the next town down the road. Maybe you can get something there." "But it's late and we're lost, tired and hungry. Can't we please stay for one night?" begged Dolly. Ellie Alpaca, Albert's wife, was listening to the conversation while she cleaned up the lobby for the night. She could see the disappointment in the Lama's tired eyes and felt sorry for them. "Albert, I think we can find a place for the Lamas for one night," she said. He looked warily at the Lamas, then at his wife's pleading eyes, and finally grumbled, "Well, all right, but just for one night." And here is the picture of them talking, and you will notice how small the alpaca is compared to the Lamas. But look how much they look alike in other features, just like people. Ellie smiled, welcomed them to the inn, escorted them to a table in a little cafe, and gave them some warm soup and cornbread, which they accepted gratefully. They let out sighs of relief and ate their food. And here is Ellie welcoming them to their place to stay for the night. Chapter 3 is A Tale of a Town. The cafe was quaint and cozy, and although it needed some paint and a few repairs, it gave them a warm feeling, and they thanked Ellie for speaking up for them to her husband. "Albert is a good alpaca," said Ellie. "He is just angry because a few years ago a llama took over our biggest industry, the alpacaging company, and didn't take care of it properly. The company began losing money and eventually had to close. Alpacas lost their jobs, and none of us have hardly enough money to live on or to fix up our town to make it nice again. That's why he doesn't trust llamas. He knows he shouldn't judge all llamas by what one llama did, but sometimes he gets angry about it and doesn't think about how he makes others feel. Most of the other alpacas here feel the same way. We don't have very much to offer right now, but we will do whatever we can to make you comfortable." The llamas nodded their understanding and thanked her. "Eek!" yelled Dolly as something suddenly scampered in front of her across the floor. "Oh, I'm so sorry," said Ellie, embarrassed at the appearance of this unwelcome visitor. "That's an alpaca rat. We try to keep them away, but sometimes one gets in through holes in the building looking for food. We have been wanting to get those holes fixed, but we just haven't been able to afford it yet. We do make sure they don't get into the kitchen or the bedrooms." Wally and Dolly forced smiles and nodded because Ellie had been so kind, and they knew the alpaca rat wasn't her fault. They knew that things like this happen when owners don't have enough money to keep their places in good repair. They thanked her and went into their bedroom, quietly closing the door behind them. The small room was sparsely decorated but clean and comfortable, and the large pile of fresh hay on the floor felt good after their long journey. It wasn't long before they felt sound asleep. And here is a picture of that alpaca rat running across Ellie. I would be screaming too. I don't like critters like that. So I would feel the same way as Ellie did. Chapter 4 is an unlikely friendship. The next morning, Wally and Dolly awoke to the tantalizing aroma of homemade haystack pancakes. To the llama's surprise, Ellie and Albert Alpaca had prepared a simple but wonderful breakfast for them. "How do you know haystack pancakes is our favorite breakfast?" exclaimed Dolly. "We are alpacas and you are llamas, but that doesn't mean we can't like the same things." "Alpacas love haystack pancakes too," replied Ellie, smiling broadly. Ellie, Albert, Wally, and Dolly sat down at a rustic little table in the cafe and enjoyed a leisurely breakfast together, telling each other all about themselves. They learned that although they were different in some ways, they were alike in other ways, and it was all good. When breakfast was over, the llamas packed up their things and thanked the alpacas once again for their hospitality. "I'm sorry I wasn't very nice to you last night," apologized Albert. "I realize that you can't judge llamas you don't know just because of what one other one did. And you both proved how wrong I was about you. You are fine llamas." "It's okay. We understand. Last night, Ellie told us all about what happened, and we're so sorry about what you and the other townsfolk are going through," Wally said. "We have a feeling, though, that someday the town of Alpaca will be back on its feet again," he added, winking. The alpacas gave the llamas directions on how to get to Peruville and wished them well for their trip. "Please stop by again sometime," Albert yelled as the llamas made their way back down the rutted dirt road. "You can count on it," yelled Dolly. They all waved goodbye, and Wally and Dolly Llama were once again on their way to Peruville to see the new drama at the Llama-Rama. Chapter 5 is A New Hope. A few weeks had passed by, and Albert and Ellie Alpaca were busy preparing their hotel for some guests when the door opened and in came Wally and Dolly Llama. "How nice to see you again," exclaimed Ellie. "What can we do for you today?" "We need a place to stay for a few days. Do you have any rooms available?" said Wally with a smile. "Of course we do," said Albert. "What brings you to the town of Alpaca this time?" "Well, there's something we didn't tell you about us the last time we were here," began Dolly. "We are the owners of the Walla Dolly Backpacking Company in Llama City. We make warm outer clothing and equipment from llama hair for hiking and exercising. We have been wanting to expand our business to include fashion clothing, and alpacas have such soft, pretty wool that we thought it might be good to use in a new product line. Wally continued, "We would like to buy the alpacaging company that is for sale and see if we can create jobs to get the alpacas working again. Some of you would design the clothing, some would shear the wool like the llamas do for our current products, some would prepare it for sewing, and some would make the clothing. If there is heavy work that needs to be done, then the llamas will help. The llamas are excited about the idea of working with the alpacas." "Oh my goodness," said Ellie with tears of happiness in her eyes. "Why are you doing this for us?" Dolly explained, "When we came here a few weeks ago, you were afraid of us because of what the bad llama did to you. But we needed help, and you were kind enough to give us food and a place to sleep, even though we are llamas. Now we want to repay your kindness. We want to build our business, and your alpacas need jobs. You trusted us, and now we will trust you." Albert and Ellie smiled happily. They knew that the alpacas would be excited about getting back to work and fixing up their homes and town, and they hoped that they would be happy to work with nice llamas this time. Albert and Ellie would most certainly give them a good reference. Chapter 6, Hand in Hand. The alpacas readily agreed to the new arrangement, and within a short period of time, the alpacaging company became Lampaca Fashion Clothing and Outdoor Gear. With the help of the llamas, the little town of Alpaca became bright, colorful, and bustling once again. Roads were paved or repaved, buildings were fixed and redecorated, brightly colored flowers and plants adorned homes and roadsides, and youngsters played in newly renovated parks and playgrounds. As for the alpaca rats, they were nowhere to be found. The alpacas were grateful to be back at work again, and the llamas were thrilled to be working with them and seeing new products make their company grow. Everyone won. And do you know what Wally and Dolly Llama had tucked in everybody's first paychecks? Tickets to the new drama at the Llama Rama in Peruville. And this is a picture of the llama and alpaca's new company that they have now formed together. I hope you've learned from this book that it's okay to be different, and it's okay that you don't look the same as somebody else, but you might still like the same things. You can see how the llamas and alpacas really have very similar features, but they also have a lot of different features, and they have different characteristics. They have different talents, just like people have different talents. So you might have a talent different than somebody else has, and you can maybe work those talents together to make something really good. So I hope you have enjoyed this book, and thank you very much for listening.